We right here in Pasadena, California at Villa Park. This is some of my beginning of my early childhood memory, growing up in the '80s. A lot of good memories. When I first started running the streets at the age of 9, the Park Street Gangsters. And so this is where we used to come here. We used to fight against the Mexicans or whatnot. This is just the beginning stages of my upbringing, being exposed to life, of what I thought life was. I had joined a bigger gang, like I said, the Pasadena Denver Lane Bloods. I had joined them. And at the age of 19, um, I, I and two other individuals, we went to carjack someone. In the midst of that, an individual was killed, accidentally killed. And so, with that being said, um, one of my co-defendants flipped the script and changed the roles, basically, and put me as the gunman and whatnot. So, in that process, my mindset was like, okay, I knew this day would come to a certain degree, and here it is, this day that I have to face. So I went through that process of going to court, fighting my case for about 30 months. 30 months. I spent 33 months in the county jail before I got shipped off to prison. So I was 22 years old when I received a double life sentence. Initially, we was facing the death penalty, life without, and we, fortunately enough, we ended up with life with the possibility of parole. I had received 2 double life sentences. And so in that process, while I was in the county jail, um, I did a reflection of my life. You know, when a person receives a life sentence, or probably facing a life sentence, they thinking, their mind opens up. You know, they start looking at things that they took for granted and whatnot, right? And an individual who's in and out the system, me personally, they mind don't open up. They mind don't open up because they know that they're gonna get out in about a year or two, and they're gonna come back doing the same thing. So I had to step back and look at things for what it really was, and that's when I said that, okay, look, I'm not going to represent my tribe in the manner that I've been doing. So I'm gonna step back and identify myself as a Muslim. I'm still from where I'm from, but I'm representing in a positive way as possible, right? And I know, and just like everyone else know, we need positive role models that come from these tribes, because the message that's coming from outside entities, it doesn't hit as it should for one who's giving the message from that individual who's from that tribe, right? So you have individuals that probably not probably you have individuals that disagree with what I'm doing, you know, and that's just life. Just like when I was living the wrong lifestyle, you had individuals that I was disagreeing, and those were the positive individuals. You had even individuals who were negative that was living the lifestyle that I was once living, disagree. So that's just part of life. It comes with it, So I stand on truth, even if the truth is against me, right? And people swear up and down that Jesus was around, they'll be around Jesus. That's a lie, because Jesus stood on truth, and he was called a troublemaker. He was called a troublemaker, right? So with that being said, they wouldn't be around Jesus, because for one, Jesus willing to die for what he stood on. So a lot of people are not willing to die, and let alone they don't want to die. So with that being said, me personally, I know my path, I know my vision, and hey, what comes with it is whatever's supposed to come with it.
Do you feel like religion is what kept you sane and brought you back to this healthy place that you're at right now?
Oh, most definitely, most definitely. Religion is the core. It is still the core of my sanity. You know, I don't think. Well, I know without it, I wouldn't have a balance. I wouldn't have a balance, and so the religion aspect of my life, I try to keep it um coincide of basically the way I live.
Tell me really quickly about your appeal process, and then tell me what you're doing now that you're out of prison.
Okay, in my appeal process, initially on my initial appeal, I went all the way to the United States Supreme Court, and that took I'm gonna say approximately 13 years. 13 years, and I got denied on all levels. They took some time off on the lower levels in the United States Supreme Court. They had took one of my life sentences off. Um, However, like I said, my mind state was either appeal or escape. So I was working my way on the escape once when I exhaust all my remedies on my appeal. With that being said, I started writing books. I started writing books in 2000 and 2000. I want to say what 2011, March of 2011 on my 10th year, and so that opened up my mind as well, because I said I would need some money to get up out of here if I was planning for an escape or hiring a lawyer. I said I at least need $1 million. And so um, I've written several books. The first book I've written about is my life called Don Muslim. The other books is Big Brother, Survivor of Prison Island, Goblin Redemption, and Goblin Redemption 2. Those last three, those are the ones that's out right now. I'm currently working on part 2 of my book about my life. I've been doing a little mentoring in the sense of helping people getting jobs. I spoke to Fundamental Elementary School, I think, or Fundamental School. I think that's in Long Beach or the borderline of Long Beach and Compton. I spoke at the Flint Ridge Center. They have a graduation of the MC3 program. So since I've been out, I've been doing electrical work. It's a practitioner work that help homeless people. So, but I'm the supervisor there, and we just cater to the homeless. And so I work 2 full-time jobs and try to do my best. And the next phase is I'm trying to own some land, own property. That's what I'm doing. That's my next phase.
What's your message that you want to say to people?
It's best to do the right thing. Even if you do the wrong thing the right way, it's not gonna last. You're not gonna have a long run. But it's best to do the right thing and trust the process. Trust the process. Don't look at things to be instantaneously like 5G network. It doesn't work like that. You have to put in the work. Just like in the streets, you have to put in the work to get your name up. You have to put in the work to earn a certain reputation. It's the same thing in a positive, productive lifestyle. You just transfer that energy into a whatever productive lifestyle that you're trying to do. You have to trust the process. Abdul Malik, we're here in Pasadena, here at Villa Park. Just going to take you guys on the tour and briefly speak about my life and upbringings here in Pasadena, California, of a childhood of the 80s. Let's go. So right now, we down here in Villa Park. Villa Park in this area, predominantly area, is controlled by what you would say Southern Mexicans, Sureños, as they will put it. And this area belongs or controlled by what you would say a barrio called Villa Boys. And so this is an area where they are predominantly at. We grew up here. I got a friend named KP. We used to play soccer. And before he got on the team, they was calling me Pele. And this is the field. It didn't look like this back then. This is where we used to play soccer at. But when he came, he took over the name Pele. That's how good he was. So we grew up right here. I was born back here in one of these houses. I used to play with the neighborhood kids right here. Also, this area is called the Low End. We call this the Low End area. Everyone from Pasadena knows when you say the Low End area, they know where you're talking about. So this is the low end area. Right here to the left, this is Garfield. So 721 North Garfield. This is where I used to live. It didn't look like this. It looks smaller. So you know, when you're a kid, everything looks so big. Those are the apartments I grew up. This is the street we used to play. Play in the street. This area is another part of the low end. Just waving at one of my childhood friends right there. This is Summer Street that we going down. Here, this is Jackie Robinson Park. Right here to the right. Back in the days, you would never seen these individuals down here at this park. It's for the best. You know, it just shows that nothing actually stays the same. This Jackie Robinson Park right here, the pool area and the inside basketball area, the gym, all that is different. None of that used to look like this. And right here in front of us is the projects. The projects. At the age of 11, at the age of 9, I started running the streets in the daytime, and I was going down there on Park Street, and hanging with John Bird, his brother Juicy, or Jerome, Dwayne, Coco, Demon. But at the age of 11, we moved up to an area where we're about to go is called the Top End or the Tip Top here. So right here is La Pinaresta Park. This was also once upon a time a heavy infested hangout for the Pasadena and Denver Lanes. Once upon a time was a private school that I went to, an African heritage private school I went to called Omawale Ujamaa Shule.
What was high school like for you?
Well, high school for me, I didn't really attend public high school like that out here in the public. I was more so incarcerated. Like I said, at the age of 13, I've been in and out the system. So my education wise, high school years were in the system. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I did the 9th, 10th because I was in placement, and part of 11th in the system. However, my senior year, I went to Blair High School. My senior year, and I didn't even get to complete my senior year. With that being said, I had caught a case. I had caught a drug case. What happened was they did a probation search. They did a probation search at my house, and found some drugs. And so I ended up doing 13 months. This is back in 98. This is December 98. And I did 13 months, got out January 10th of 2000. So to answer your question, my high school years were spent mostly in the system. However, when I got out in 2022 of this last case that I went in for, which was a carjack murder, I ended up doing 22 years. Well, actually 21 years, 8 months, and 1 week. Instead of saying all that, I just say 22 years. That's what it is, 22 years. I had a double life sentence for that and got out on appeal. So with that being said, when I got out, they had a, if I'm not mistaken, this was either in 2023, they had a class reunion, a prom class reunion, and I went on and did that. When I was out, pertaining to prom and things of that nature, I didn't go. I didn't think that stuff was cool. So that's how warped my mind was. You know, prom. Nah, I was in the streets. My prom is in the streets. That's what I was doing. Entering right now, this is the top end, the tip top area. This is where we moved in 1992 in March, and this is where I start being fully exposed to the street life. Now the street that we about to turn on right here is Penn, and we about to go on Summit, on Summit Street, Summit Ave. Everything has changed. Everything has changed. A lot of things used to just go on. A lot of negative things used to go on. A lot of fights, shootings.
Is it still like that today here?
No, it's not like that. It's far from it. In my opinion, it's more peaceful. And I'm not saying you don't have bad things that happen. That's just life. But it doesn't equate nowhere close, remotely close to how it used to be, in no shape or fashion. Now, what may be going on in a person's mind, or what they think who wasn't around, and think it is still the same, nah, it's nowhere remotely close.
It's interesting to me because this area is so close to the mountains that's so beautiful and peaceful, and to think that there was a time when there was gang activity and chaos going on right next to such beautiful scenery. To me, it's kind of...
Yeah, the scenery that you see now outside of these trees, it didn't really look like this. It really didn't look like this to a degree.
Yeah.
But like I said earlier, in time, things change. We're about to go back on Raymond. This is where I'm about to show you guys where I lived, on Raymond and Woodbury. It was some trees. So the city came and cut the trees off. So I had named this section right here the trees. And we used to sell drugs and do what we do, living the street life. These apartments right here, this was a hangout area right here as well. This to the left was called a White Gates, although it didn't look like that back then. It didn't look like that. The sheriffs used to drive up on the curb, and was able to drive in the back to the back alley and come from the back, in their vehicles. These are the apartments where I grew up in. Matter of fact, we're gonna get out. And so this is actually considered Altadena, the top end area right here. The north side of Montana, certain parts is considered to actually be Altadena. This is my homegirl right here. What's up with it? What's going on?
Hi, how are you?
Taking your dog out for a walk?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. This is where I grew up at. It was heavy infested with tribal members from my tribe. The cemetery is right there across the street, and above the cemetery, it will be considered where the Crips will be, the Altadena Block Crips, right? So this is a sworn tribe that we was feuding with back in the days and whatnot. So this whole little area is where I grew up.
Yeah.
This whole little area is where I grew up at. RJ's liquor store is where I used to hang out sometimes, and I stayed right across the street. So it was like really nothing to a degree to where individuals of rival tribal members to come down here and vice versa, right? So with that being said, I remember when they planted these trees right here. I remember when they planted them. They was skinny. They had them tied up, and I come back out, they're this tall. Stuff done grew. So, but yeah, like I said, at the age of 11 is when I started selling drugs and whatnot. And at the age of 13, I in and out the system from juvenile hall, and I ended up in prison. But a lot has changed for the better. A lot has changed for the better. I have Crip friends from Altadena, the Twin Lokes, Yusef, Yaya, Lonnie, and Josh. I grew up with them, and I call them friends. This is the cemetery right here as well, that separates us. The crazy thing about it, although it separates us, this is where we're all joined in our graves. How ironic is that, right? But back to what I was saying regarding my friends from Altadena, and I have some friends from Raymond. One of my friends is a guy named Baby Lomac. I call these individuals friends because when we were kids, and although we made a decision on how we wanted to live our life, on the decision making of what tribes that we wanted to represent, we didn't allow our friendship to separate that, to get involved in that, right? We didn't inflict harm on one another. So I consider these individuals still my friends, and I see them no matter where I'm at. I see them, give them hugs, converse with them. This area right here, I was shot at right there before. This area right here is like basically where the Altadena Block Crip members used to hang out. I'm making a U-turn. You know, I have cousins from Altadena as well. You know, Pasadena, Altadena, most of us are related. That's the crazy thing. So this liquor store that we coming up on right here to your right, this is Harriet. This is where they used to hang out. This is a heavy infested area of the Crips. Said I was shot at right here as well. This is a heavy infested Crip area right here, Calaveras, Fair Oaks and Calaveras. You know, so I got respect for those individuals who I mentioned that's Crips from Altadena.
What do you think about the fires and what it did to the community?
It put a burden on a lot of people. You know, a lot of people are devastated, and they're in a limbo. You know, still trying to figure things out, whatnot, and it's really a tragedy right there. You know, no one actually thinks something to this degree can actually happen. You know, and when you hear the news about the fire department wasn't funded and didn't have no water in the hydrants, you know, one can only come to a conclusion like this was intentional. This was intentionally done to the people. You know, like who in their right mind won't fund the fire department, you know, and have water in the fire hydrants? You know, that's not how you run a city. You know, it's no safety and security right there.
Go ahead.
This is Elliott Junior High. I used to attend too. I went there. I started there in the seventh grade. Yeah, I started in the seventh grade. This is where the masjid was right here to the right. The mosque right here, all in this area.
All burned down.
Yeah. Well, another heavy infested hangout area for the Altadena Block Crips. Used to hang out right here at this liquor store right here, this market, all in this little area and down the street in Altadena Drive. As we going down Lincoln, it's a school called John Muir High School that predominantly most of the Altadena Block Crip members used to attend. That was one of the main schools that they attended, probably about a mile away from where we at right now. The high school, John Muir High School, is right here to the right, and this is where predominantly most of the Crip members used to attend right here, John Muir. But at the same time, most of the gang members that was attended this school were Bloods, you know. So back in the days, you had a lot of stuff going on down in this little area right here. A lot of stuff. People coming up to the schools who don't who don't even go to the school.
Yeah.
coming here and causing our mischief. Causing our mischief.
What is it right there?
It's Eid Ramadan. So
Oh,
across the street is called New Horizon,
okay.
and so right there, these are the Muslims that's coming to celebrate the Eid. If you look down there, right there, um, they're going there to do the prayers
Okay.
and whatnot. So anyway, later on today, I'm supposed to be headed out to Lancaster, Palmdale, Lancaster, and do the Eid with the brothers and sisters out there for Ramadan. The month of Ramadan it's an Islamic holiday that you're supposed to fast for 30 days, 29 to 30 days.
Did you fast?
Yes, I fast. So I grew up in an Islamic household. Um, Basically, I was born into the Islamic religion. It's like you have people born into Judaism and Christianity. I kept the religion of Islam as my religion. I didn't switch it up. Some people, when they get older, they switch it up for whatever reason. Some people shake religion in its totality, right? So that's what actually kept my faith in knowing that I would return home to my mother. I didn't know when, but I just knew, just like I knew I was gonna get found guilty prior, but I knew I wasn't gonna be in prison for the rest of my life. So I continue to hold on to the rope of Allah, which is the rope of faith or whatever, and returned home 22 years later.
In the time you were in prison, did you still have that feeling that you knew you were going to get out? You didn't know how.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. My motto was shoot, either appeal or escape. So either I'm gonna get out the right way or the wrong way. So that was my mindset, either appeal or escape. So that's the motto that I had lived by. You know, and that's what it is.
You want to just talk about what this place is and what it represents to you?
We're here in Mountain View Cemetery here in Altadena, California. Um, like I mentioned earlier, the cemetery is ironic to me that although it separates the two tribes, the Altadena Block Crips and the Pasadena Devil Lanes and the Squiggly Lanes, the Bloods and the Crips, basically who I'm speaking about, those who don't know about gangs or whatnot. So the cemetery here is what separated us. But although we are so close in the two cities, we're majority of us are family members, and then we allow um, tribal culture or street culture to separate ourselves, even though we have so much in common. And at the end of the day, when I mean by the end of the day, at the end of our lives, this is where we come to let us know, or for those who are still living, to realize that hey, this is the commonality. We all have death. Death is incumbent upon everyone, and we all will see a grave. And so here at this cemetery, we're all joined in the grave. Even though some may be somewhere else in another grave in another city. At the end of the day, at the end of life, we have to be into a grave. And so you have blood and Crip members in the grave here at this cemetery. But we had chosen a certain lifestyle, and and went over our differences instead of coming together in the sense of our commonalities. Majority of us nowadays who are older, and even back then, seen that it was senseless. But whatever the mind had told me and others, we had continue on in that lifestyle. So what I try to do now is promote positivity in the street life. I'm always going to be for my tribe. My tribe is overall the Damus and Parus, but I'm a native out of the Pasadena Devil Lane Bloods. So I don't promote violence in the sense of um, getting together, congregating to go feud against the enemies or things like that. But what I do promote is self-defense. I don't look at self-defense as violent. I believe that, not that I believe, I know that everyone has the right to defend themselves. But back to what I was saying, it's just crazy how once when you get older in life, you realize a lot of stuff wasn't worth it. But at the same time, it was worth it because it made you who you are today, you know.
Mm.
Um, I want to share just one brief story. I was like 14, if I'm not mistaken. I was 14 and I was in placement and I had walked. It's the lower part of the cemetery where right here, across the street from my house, I walked through the cemetery, walked up here, and it's a wall now. It wasn't a wall. It was a gate. It was a fence. And so this was my first shooting. My first shooting. I didn't hit nobody. I didn't hit nobody. It was an individual standing in front of a house, and came through here, got on the gate, shot a few rounds and whatnot. Didn't hit anything. I probably was like 75 yards away or something. I don't know. I was from a distance, and then ran right back down. Ran right back down the street. I climbed up on the gate and shot towards the guy. Didn't hit anything. I was 14, and so with that being said, I sprinted right back down to my apartment complex. Like I said, I stay right across the street, and so Woodbury is the ending of the top end area. So this is why it's called the tip top, Woodbury right there, or some would say the top end. So that's how close we are, you know. With that being said, that's basically it, you know. But a lot of things done changed since then, man, and the change for the better is always good.
Do you think it's better now in Altadena, Pasadena for the youth and for the overall community, besides obviously the fires that just happened?
Yeah. Recently, we just had a celebration of non gang related deaths. You know, we celebrated a year of non-gang related death. But however, in a sense of the Bloods and Crips, it's been longer than that. Of Bloods and Crips, no death wise, Pasadena and Altadena. But you have those, I guess, gang related incidents that happens within or whatnot, and no death. It's been over a little over a year now. We just had a little event celebrating the basically it's been peace in the sense of no gang related deaths.